The media spent decades obsessing over his face. There's a point when a celebrity stops being a useful commodity. He held immense financial leverage. He had the direct line to the minds of billions of people. So everyone's heading to the theaters right now to see the new Michael biopic. We want Hollywood to give us the real Michael. We want a neat, comfortable story where everything makes sense by the time credits roll. But it's not going to happen because a movie is just a copy of an image. The truth is, nobody actually saw the man. We just looked at what we wanted to see. Think about the raw math of it. From the time he was 5 years old, he was taught a lesson that completely breaks how a human brain works and develops. You only matter if you perform. If he sang perfectly, he got paid, praised, and protected. And if he stopped, the room went silent. There's a French thinker, Jean Baudrillard, who talked about a concept called simulacra. It's a heavy word for a simple, terrifying thing. It's what happens when the image of a person becomes more real to the society than the actual flesh and blood behind it. Michael Jackson wasn't just a person to the public. He was a product, a global mirror. If you were lonely, you looked at him and saw a savior. If you were cynical, you looked at him and saw a freak. When you have been wearing a mask since childhood, you literally don't know who you are when you take it off. Even his art wasn't just entertainment. It was more of a diagnostic report of a fractured psyche. People danced to Billie Jean, but if you actually listen, it's paranoid, claustrophobic nightmare about false accusations. I know it sounds quite incoherent, but I cannot unsee the pattern in his songs. Look at Stranger in Moscow. He literally sings about a sudden fall from grace and about wandering in the rain, isolated, asking who is using him, and concluding that he's living in a state of absolute loneliness. Look at the lyrics of They Don't Care About Us, which is quite trending right now on Instagram. The music has something, intentionally or not, deep. After his success, or during the time of his success, he became a problem. People forget this because the media spent decades obsessing over his face and his eccentricities. But look at the actual power dynamics. He didn't just sing songs, he owned things. He bought the Sony ATV catalog. He owned the publishing rights to Beatles music. He held immense financial leverage over the exact corporate entities that run global entertainment. There's a point when a celebrity stops being a useful commodity and starts being a genuine threat to the system. He had the direct line to the minds of billions of people, completely independent of the corporate structure around him. And when you get that autonomous, the system reacts. It squeezes. Whether his end was just a failure of health or something far more deliberate by the forces protecting their capital. The reality is, he was a variable that they could no longer control. Look at what happens when the pressure finally breaks the mind. 6 weeks before he died, during a private moment later used in his doctor's criminal trial, an audio recording caught him heavily medicated. The polished entertainer was gone and the ego was already stripped. He wasn't talking to an audience, but his brain was looping on the exact same programming. He was slurring, barely conscious, repeating that his upcoming show has to be phenomenal, that people had to say that he was the greatest entertainer in the world. The loop wouldn't stop. But right after that, he started talking about using the whole money to build the largest children's hospital in the world. And this was the actual call recording of his, not the one which is surfacing around the internet a lot, in which he says there are a group of people trying to harm him. That one is false. The biased mind looks at this and tries to claim he was either a perfect saint or a master manipulator. But if you drop the bias and look directly, you see just a psychological loop, not very different from us, because the consciousness of the humans are eventually the same. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer argued that the humans are driven by a blind, unconscious force he called the will. It's this endless, restless hunger to fix our internal suffering by chasing things outside of us. Michael Jackson was kind of trapped in that exact loop. He wrote Man in the Mirror, a song completely dedicated to the ideas that the real change begins internally with self examination. But ironically, his own mind couldn't break its internal loop. He wanted to build a massive sanctuary for kids, not because he was a hero, not because he was crazy, but because he was still that 5-year-old boy who had no sanctuary. He thought if he could just heal the whole world, he'd finally heal his own past. It's a closed circle. The observer trying to save the observed. We wanted him to be the villain, or we wanted him to be the victim, because our brains are lazy. We love neat little boxes that require no thought. But reality don't care about these sophisticated boxes, these sophisticated ideologies. Michael Jackson was just a human being who got crushed between the world's infinite hunger for entertainment and his own deep delusions. He wasn't a god, he wasn't a monster, as the media portrayed him. He was a mirror. When you look at his life and you feel fascinated or angry or sorrowful, you are not actually feeling anything for him. You are just looking at your own reflection, staring right back at you. And when the lights finally went out, the mirror just vanished.